So as we all know, before we get into the show, actually, I just want to say what's up, family. How you doing? Welcome back to a second episode, my second time live streaming, touching on important topics that I feel as though is important here. Um, yeah, so we got Kamala over here talking about grocery price gouging, and as we all know, because I have my notes right here to show, and I took a lot of notations and insights, um, and to see in my viewpoint of it to give my perspective, insights, and thoughts off. So I figure I'll share my insight, and interact with whoever's in the chat at the time being. But we have an interesting document here. As we all know, inflation is a big concern in America, with grocery bills skyrocketed to all time high. So you got Vice President Kamala Harris finally revealed some type of policy. Finally, the key words that stuck out was grocery price gouging. She insists will tackle this issue in the first 100 days, lowering food and cost, as mentioned in the capturing article over here, as it's titled "Grocery Price Gouging to Feature Promptly in Harris Economic Plan." Right? It sounds good until it take place. So I like to add my clarity, let alone give my thoughts, insight, and perspective. And since Ms. Harris only touched surface on it, I like to take a deep dive into it, presenting to you guys a document or a post, so to say. So apparently, this individual, Robert, I think his name is Robert. Let me slide up a little bit. Robert Sterling. So apparently, this individual who works or had worked in the mergers and acquisitions in the food industry, um, and his name goes by the name Robert Sterling, right? So all respect goes to him, and gratefully so, giving us this amazing insight and perspective for an individual who have worked in the food industry. Let alone, I don't believe that Kamala Harris has the credentials to even be running right now. It's considered a joke to me, but that's my personal opinion, um, so to say. But Robert has an interesting post that he created that will show us as he worked and or had worked or do work within the merger and acquisitions in the food industry, like I mentioned. Um, as he broke down with a lot of context to substantiate his point of a long-term effects from Kamala's price gouging policy, right? So first, in simplistic terms, I like to define what mergers and acquisitions is from a business perspective for those who may not know. A merger is two similar companies um, of similar sizes, and they combine to become a business. For example, in 2016, Heinz Company and Kraft Food Groups merged to become and form into, as we know today, Kraft Heinz Company. And acquisitions, when a larger company, the acquirer, which is the larger company, takes control of a smaller company, the target, taking ownership of the smaller company's business. And there's three ways to do that in regards of the larger company taking a smaller company business, right? So you got one that's considered takeovers when one company makes a successful bid to buy the company outright. That's one way that the acquisition or the acquire, I should say, um, which is the larger company acquiring a smaller company, and that's how the acquisition take place. But like I said, to take over that company is three ways, and the first way is I'm gonna mention it again. It successfully bid to buy out that company outright, and that's the larger company buying the smaller company, to be specific. So the second is the larger company can take over by being a shareholder, which is taking over a majority of their stock. Stock in a company helps pay for debts or growth plans, as we all know, which definitely determines the trajectory or direction of the company, along with voting stock. Because since the majority of the stock that the larger company brought within the smaller company, and they have more say so because they invested majority of the money. And basically, if you want to be in particular, basically the larger company is the hand that's feeding the smaller company, right? And so they gain that voter stock. And voting stock, basically, that larger company having that voter stock can have definitely have a say so in regards of corporate policies and electing board members. So that's very crucial, and that's how they can acquire the smaller company, which is the target, because they see some value within that smaller company. So that's the second way they can take over. Um, they can take over in regards of a larger company taking over a smaller company. The acquire, which is the larger company, right? So then you have the third way to take over the large company taking over a smaller company, and that's the assumption agreement. A buyer may agree, to take possession of the seller's outstanding debts as part of a transaction. And it's paper, basically, so stating everyone's responsibility after the sale. For example, as we know today, and we do know, Walmart, for example, the larger company acquired Jet.com, the smaller company. And Walmart acquired Jet.com, which is the smaller company, on August 8th, 2016, for $3 billion in cash, a portion paid over time, right? And additionally, $300 million of Walmart shares will also be paid over time as part of the transaction. So this is an assumption agreement because it's a transaction being paid in cash, which is the $3 billion, along with the 300 million shares of Walmart stock, so that Walmart takes over Jet.com. And why did Walmart do this? Which is the larger company taking over the smaller company, which is, in this case, Walmart, as we all know, is a large company, and Jet.com is a smaller company. And Walmart did this because combining an e-commerce platform like Jet.com, which is now Walmart.com, because if you look at or you put on your browser on Google, Safari, whatever you use, Firefox, and you put Jet.com, Walmart will pop up, and you'll see Walmart.com. Walmart expands to have an online presence, to reach a wider audience or a wider customer base, I so to say, and also selling convenience, right? And Walmart, as we know, isn't promptly just known for groceries. You got the socks aisle, you got the baby aisles, you got the technology aisle. And for the most part, that's so Walmart can cover the costs, and they're not primarily just known for grocery shopping. You get what I'm saying? But we'll get more into that because it definitely plays a big part in this grocery price gouging that Kamala Harris is over here boasting, which she didn't really add any clarity to. She just touched on it, surface base wise. So I had to add context in regards of those who may not understand what a merger and acquisition is, and I defined merger and acquisition, so you guys understand what it is for those who may not know what it is. So back to the document. So we got grocery price gouging to feature promptly in Harris' economic plan. Harris will lay out actions she plans to take in her first 100 days as president to lower food and other everyday costs during a speech this Friday, which was this past Friday to be exact. It was August 16th in North Carolina, to be exact. So we have Robert Sterling, who had this document, and he outlined it 13 key things that we should be aware of from a long-term perspective and what this policy will affect in turn, most importantly, the American people, right? Because that's the important thing here. So he posted this, and let's go over it. So number one, well, let's read the document or the post, I so to say. I worked in merger and acquisition in the food industry. Here's a step-by-step summary of what would actually happen. Number one, the government announces that the grocery retailers aren't allowed to raise prices. Number two, grocery stores, which operate on 1% to 2% net margins, can't survive if their suppliers raise prices. So the government announces that food producers, Kraft, Heinz, as we know today, like I mentioned, how they merged and became one, two smaller individuals becoming one entity. Conagra, I can't even say that word, Tyson, Hormel, etc., also aren't allowed to raise prices. That's number two. Number three, not all grocery stores are created equal. Stores in lower income areas make less money than those in higher income areas, as the former disproportional sell lower margin prepackaged foods, which is in the center of the store, instead of the high margin fresh products like meat, which is in the perimeter of the store, because stores in lower income areas aren't able to cover overhead. And in parentheses, remember, even if their wholesale costs are fixed, their labor, utilities, insurance, and other operating expenses aren't fixed yet. Grocery chains start to shut them down. Food deserts in rural areas and in low income urban areas are like become worse, right? So before I get to the fourth point, Kamala Harris says a lot about these such things like recently the $6,000 child tax credit if elected, the 25,000 tax or the 25,000 first home time buyer credit or perk, I so to say, cut prices, eliminate student loans. But how is all this possible, right? She say all these things, but where is it coming from? How can this thing take place? How can these things that she's boasting about that she's going to do take place? Like grocery price gouging. How is it going to take place? Right? So the point I'm making here is, how is money being received to then be allocated to initiate these things, right? And us American people, the consumer, if you want to be honest, just thinking back to the 16th Amendment, it might seem a little bit off topic, but I'll make sure it ties together to my point. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm always open to the possibility of being wrong. We only paid income tax when it came to funding wars back in like World War II. But other than that, why have it going on so long where we've been paying income tax is because no one said anything. We allowed it to go on for so long. We didn't question things. And we're taught how to think, not what to think. And we've been utilizing critical thinking since second grade. So just utilizing our critical thinking and putting on our thinking cap, as they say, how is these things being initiated that she continued to boast about and say, oh, I'll give you a first home time buyer, 25,000 for first home time buyer. Oh, $6,000 child tax credit, cutting prices, eliminate student loans. And all these things in turn affect us regular American people, everyday people. So let's continue as we go into the fourth point. Meanwhile, margins for food producers are also quickly eroding. Their primary cost, ingredients, energy, and labor aren't fixed, and their shrinking gross profits leave less cash flow available to cover overhead, maintain facilities, and reinvest in additional production capacity. So then we got number 5, right? Grocery chains, which have finite shelf space, start to repurpose their stores, those that didn't have to shut down, I should say, to sell more non-price controlled items. Everything from nutrition supplements to kitchenware to apparel and less price controlled food products. Your local Kroger or Safeway starts to look and feel more like a Walmart. Number 6, food producers stop making products with lower margins. Grocery chains start to competing with each other to secure inventory. Since they can't compete by offering stronger prices, remember, producers aren't allowed to raise prices here, and even if they could, grocery chains no longer have the gross profit to bear price increases. They compete on things like payment terms, and number 7, small grocery chains start to shut down entirely or get sold to larger chains like Kroger. In addition to not being able to cover fixed costs, a major reason for this is because they can no longer reliably secure delivery of products due to producers prioritizing sales to larger customers, which are able to leverage their stronger balance sheets to offer superior payment terms. So basically, small businesses are going to fall in number seven, right? And then we got number eight, smaller food producers, which typically sell via distributors rather than directly to grocery chains, start to go out of business because these producers have an additional step, their value chains, and because they have lower volumes over which to spread their fixed costs, their cost structure is inherently disadvantaged compared to major food producers. When grocery stores aren't able to raise prices, cutting product costs becomes all the more important, and deprioritizing purchases from smaller producers is an easy way to do so. So that's number eight. So basically, Kamala is going to put an end to middle class, hardworking people she boasts about. A hypocrite, right? So then we got number nine. As the supply chains break down, lines start to form outside grocery stores. Now, and this is horrible. Like this is anyway. As supply chains break down, lines start to form outside grocery stores every morning. Cities assign police officers to patrol store parking lots, and food producers draft contingency plans to assign armed escorts to deliver trucks. So it's going to be basically a survival to the fittest in a pessimistic or a negative way. In turn, there will be outrage, right? Individuals starving. So then we go to number 10. The federal government announces a program to issue block grants for states to purchase and operate shuttered grocery stores. The USDA also seizes closed down production facilities. Number 11. The government announces that the prices for all key food cost, corn, wheat, cattle, energy, etc., are also now fixed to stop profiteers from gouging the now government operated food industry. And then number 12, shockingly, the government struggles to operate one of the most complex industries on the planet. The entire food supply chain starts imploding. And then number 13, communism, mass starvation, and the end of America quickly ensues. So basically, that was the document, or the post, I should say, by Robert Sterling. All credits to him, the individual who had worked as a merchant, as a merging and acquisition individual in the food industry. So shouts out to him. And I have an interesting TikTok that I would like to play. And then I will show you guys how outraged grocery store owners are. So moving on to our next segment, I will show you guys the outraged I will show you guys this TikTok that I'm going to display to you guys first, about just basic economics that Kamala Harris apparently doesn't know about. And she just doesn't have the credentials, man. And I'm not trying to get off topic, but you gotta have you gotta know, first of all, you gotta have a politician that know about business and politics. And Trump knows about business, obviously, because he's a successful businessman. But if you don't understand basic economics and you're trying to run the country, and you can't run it off identity politics, you can't run it off diverse equity and inclusion, you can't run it off those things, emotions and feelings. Because at the end of the day, in turn, who's going to feel the wrath is the typical everyday hardworking American individuals, right? So, with no further ado, let's get into this TikTok. I'm curious to get you guys' thoughts, perspective, down in the comments. I do see someone that actually said, imagine supporting Trump that is Trump that is racist. Trump has done so much more than Harris has done. When Trump was president, he raised taxes by 5x. You need to start watching posts from non-credible sources. Okay, that's your opinion. I respect that. Black men supporting Trump is wild, man. Use your brain, man. Trump is racist. Did you watch the video of Trump being racist? Well, a lot of people see individuals like you, Business Basics 3.14, and I appreciate your commentary and also appreciate you joining the chat and the conversation because that's what it's about here, having conversations, let alone letting off our perspectives, thoughts, and insight, right? I'm all for having individuals having their own, perspective and whatever side of the fence you're on is always right and wrong. And it's 80 days before election, and Kamala Harris finally came out with a policy. Trump Ben had one. You have one party running away from the big networks or networks, and basically Tim Walz and Kamala Harris is interviewing themselves. And on top of it, one party, to me, it looks like they're doing skits and being content creators rather than actually tackling the things that everyday American people struggle with because they want to sit here and run off of identity politics, like I said, diversity, equity, and conclusion, and emotions and feelings and giving free entertainment. So if that's what you think America's going to thrive off of, so be it. And then you say, apparently black people don't want racism, but yet you support it. You can have it both ways. Well, I can say fairly to say, see, I'm focusing on policy and you're focusing on a race war, which I don't believe because I believe it's a class war. The middle class is about to get wiped out. It's either going to be between the poor and the wealthy. And at the end of the day, the typical everyday American individual is going to suffer. So I don't even believe in a race war. I believe in a class war. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is inflation is high, groceries is high, this economy is trash. And a lot of people are voting for Kamala based on identity politics because she's a black, strong woman. I don't vote off of that. I vote off policy. And I strive to be an informed voter. Now, and if you got any other thing to say besides a personal attack versus Trump or however you feel, and I respect it, whatever the side of fence you on, but come with something that's more substantial than that. Anyway, let's get into the TikTok. Actually,
there is a desperate need for people to go back and learn basic economics before they're even allowed to vote, because what you don't understand is certain policies will ultimately you. Let's talk about price fixing and price capping. If you price fix something, I'm a corporation and you're telling me I could sell this product for $5, no more, that's what I have to do it at. But it costs me $4 to get that product to then sell it to you. Well, I'm not going to make enough money making $1 profit to keep my business open and pay my employees to keep it running. So I'm either going to A, order less of that product, creating a scarcity, meaning there's a high demand and a low availability.
And see, the thing is, America has always been from a capitalist environment. And Business Basics 3.14, very true, good point. All love, man. We just here to share our perspective. Yeah, she isn't black. She's really Indian, but at the end of the day, I have came to the conclusion that if we can really see the factual information in regards to what she identified with, because ain't nobody gonna play with Kamala, man. That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? But back to what I was saying and what this young lady is saying about basic economics. America has always been a capitalistic country in a capitalistic environment, right? And what she's basically saying here, the young lady here is saying in this TikTok is basically goods and services are produced, and what defines the business is the cost of running a business. And a lot of people don't understand that, and I don't think Kamala Harris understands that. Because like I said, you have to have an individual that's also a politician, and she also has to understand the concept of just basic economics and not Kamala economics, and also running a business. She never ran a business. I don't even know if she has small business history in her rap sheet. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, back to what I was saying, the true cost of running a business is what defines the business, right? So supply, which is the available product or service, and demand is the buyer's desire to buy. And there's no supply and demand if products involving the goods and services aren't retrieved, right? So, for example, the cost of transportation fees to have supply, rent, inflation, employees, unemployment insurance, unemployment insurance, utilities, all have to be paid, and then all have to be paid, and that's the cost. So then the cost divided by how much the good and service is sold, and the price you put the good and services for to be sold for, which defines the business for a business to exist. And that's the true cost of a business. And I don't think Kamala understands that. So as she breaks down the basic economics and the turmoil from this trash policy, it's just trash altogether. Let's just be real here. As I analyzed and did my due diligence to do my research before I came up here, because that would be ignorant of me to come up here and I don't have substantial points to give you guys for us to even have an effective, productive conversation, because that's what it's about. Danny, she says she is Indian from India. Her dad is half Indian, half Irish. She ain't black, and she was raised in. Yeah, and at the end of the day, I don't even feel like she has the credibility. Do anybody feel like she has the credibility? Because she was just picked. She didn't even have no primary election vote. She just was picked. Danny, I do agree. She doesn't understand basic economics. No way she will run a business. Yeah, and she's trying to run this economy out of ignorance. But however, back to my example, I just define what the true cost is running a business, and then I'll let this young lady, we'll let her rock a little bit in the TikTok.
Availability for that product, which is going to lead to black market and people selling them at exorbitant prices. Or I'm going to go to my supplier and I'm going to say, hey, I need that same product, but I need it with a little bit less quality. Cut the corners on some things because I have to sell it for no more than $5. So I need you to make it for no more than $3. So I can at least make $2 profit so that I could afford to keep my doors open and pay everybody.
Right.
See how that works? So now you're paying more for something that's less quality, or you're going to end up paying more because there's not enough of it available, or you're just not going to have it.
Transportation.
So there's that issue. Let's also talk about this throwing out, let's raise minimum wage. If you've ever owned a business, if you have to pay an employee $20 now instead of $15 an hour, well, that money has to come from somewhere. It's not going to magically appear. So I need to make that $5 difference between employees.
You got to cover the cost. Run it back a little bit. Sorry to interrupt, family.
$5 difference between employees up. You know where I'm going to make that is I'm going to raise the price of the product I produce, because I can't take that out of my bottom line, because I also got to keep my business up and running and pay everybody and keep insurance and keep all the buildings going. So I'm going to do one or two things. I'm going to raise the price of my products that you're going to spend more so that you could cover that minimum wage, or I'm going to automate stuff. And I'm going to
get rid
fire
of
employees and let them go, because I can't afford to keep 20 employees at $20 an hour, but I sure as shit can keep 10 employees or 12 employees at $20 an hour, because that would be the same as keeping all 20 at 15. Do you see how that works? Understanding basic economics before you vote for policies that are going to be detrimental to you in the long run because they sound good and they sound pretty. This is why a knowledge of basic economics is important.
Facts. So now, you guys, I'm going to give you my example. For example, Walmart, right? As we all know, Walmart is just not primarily just based on groceries. They have the technology section. They have the clothes section, the baby section. Walmart can make up the cost by expanding not only by expanding when it comes to consumer, as I told you guys back in the video, that they had acquired, and remember, merger and acquisition. Walmart acquired Jet.com to then widen their audience consumer-wise and be more convenient. That's why you have Walmart.com. But also, they have not just groceries, but they have clothes. You might want a pair of socks. You might need some, underclothes and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, I'll buy a piece of candy. Oh, I think I need a pack of socks. And at the end of the day, that's what their intention is, to cover the cost of those employees and stuff like that. They intend to hire and stuff. So like I say, America thrives off of capitalism due to monetization opportunities and not a controlled market, but compete. She's putting a cap, and this is the policy that Kamala is trying to initiate with this grocery price gouging, right? She's putting a cap to where it would kill the economy and businesses. And by putting a cap from a socialist standpoint and communism-wise, because communism is basically everything is ran by the government. And to put a cap from a socialist standpoint, where the trueness of what makes a business thrive will die, like capping employees, capping goods and services, transportation fees, etc. The business won't be able to cover the costs. As I just mentioned, how Walmart is having a strategy that seems to be very effective to cover the cost of the things they need to pay for, and that's employees, rent, utilities. So they won't be able to cover the costs more effectively due to that cap that Kamala is trying to put in with this economic plan of hers, which will send this economy into the ground. It's the truth. It's just a trash policy altogether. Danny said she don't understand basic economics. No way she has run a business. She is right. Lower quality. Look what Tyson Food is doing, adding in. That's correct. That is correct. And then on top of it, look at this. Not even to add what you said about Tyson Foods. New York is fighting gig workers that's becoming permanent employees instead of contractors. McDonald's consumers rejected the price of what eventually, well, let's put it like this. McDonald's consumer rejected the price due to certain franchises or certain McDonald's within the chain is raising their minimum wage, or they're required to pay $20 an hour, right? And the dollar menu, which once was, and you used to have a $1 McChicken, is now $2.39. And the consumers is like, no, we're not paying that. What happened to the dollar menu? I want my $1 McChicken. I want my $1 fries, right? But the consumer rejected the price of that $2.39 McChicken that was once $1, because the price doesn't align with American wages that made the business a success in the first place. So the business dies. So you still, and on top of it, you have labor, rent, employees. That is all essential to the business. So the point I'm making here is, if the consumer don't buy, then the business fails. So she's talking about raising minimum wages, but these businesses can't cover the cost. So how are they going to be able to pay these employees? And as she mentioned in the TikTok, automate everything. Get rid of the employees. They're already having a hard time covering the cost because she put a cap on everything. So with that being said, I just wanted you guys to see that TikTok. We covered Robert Sterling. Sorry, family. I done botched his name. Robert Sterling within that Twitter post that definitely showed the long-term effects of Kamala economics and the policy and how they will affect us, the American people, everyday people. And I have one more segment, which is next, I'm going to show, and I want you guys to check out, is an individual or a grocery store owner who basically was outraged, and I want you guys to check this out. It was on X, formerly known as Twitter, and I'm about to pull it out right now. Catch my screen right here. Here we go.
Market. I live in Staten Island, and over 24 years, I own a retail grocery store in Brooklyn. And during this 24 years, I never saw the cost of grocery, bread, butter, cookie, milk going up during the administration of Biden and Harris.
See those shelves back there? We're trying to keep less inventory because it's expensive after the inflation under your vice presidency.
Mm-hmm.
Now I go through the store. Yes, we have to have merchandise here for our customers. But if you only knew how this works, and I invite you to come down, we can have you help us enter the...
Can you guys imagine the struggle and the battle balancing checks and balances? Can you guys not see what's happening in this economy? Come on, man.
Invoices into QuickBooks, since you claim that we are price gouging.
So, for example, I'll give you an example. You see this Oreo cookie? I love Oreo cookie. I used to sell it for, my cost used to be $1.50. I used to sell it for $2.99. Right now, this cookie, I'm selling it for $7. Why? Because my cost is for over $4. And look, I have only 2 pieces. I used to order cases and cases because the cost of groceries is so much high. I can't afford it.
You can come down. Come on, we'll show you. Here, Okay.
And let's not even mention the cost. Because remember, family, I told you what the true definition of the business was, right? The true definition is basically, let me go my notes. The true definition is not that Oreo cookie. It's basically it's basically, like I mentioned, the rent, the inflation, the employees, if you have any in that small grocery store, unemployment insurance, utilities, right? They got to be paid. That's all cost divided by how much it took for him to pay for that Oreo cookie, the goods, and then that transportation fee that came with it. And then the price he put it for, which is now $7 to be sold for. So can you imagine the struggle of him running that small grocery store? And look, man, every day, middle class, hardworking individuals.
You see those little price tags there and signs? Okay, those we try to keep as minimal as possible. I can show you an item where just yesterday it had gone up, and if we were to use our standards, industry standard price system, it would have to have gone up about 25,
Sheesh.
30, or 40 cents, and we decided to just increase it 15 cents.
I'm requesting to people.
And they're trying to be reasonable because obviously the person, when it comes down to it, is us, the consumer. So, and us consumer in turn creates that it helps aid in that business to thrive. But if we're rejecting the price, like, no, I'm not paying for that $7 Oreo cookie. He still has to find a way to cover the cost and keep his business running, paying for all those things. All those things that's covered under the cost category that I mentioned of running that business and the true definition of running that business. On top of still having to pay an employee if they have one or some.
Well, that please don't vote for these people. They are
With the required minimum wage that Kamala is trying to put it at. Can you imagine? How you gonna pay an employee something when you don't have the money to pay them? Money don't grow on trees, man.
bad news. I mean, Biden, what he did, he's in the corridor of power 45 years. What he accomplished? And the money that they are throwing in Ukraine war and this and that, and Trump said that the moment I get in, I'm going to stop the war. So that money should come to our economy. That money should go to our school and hospital.
Yeah.
So we deserve that money. So please, this is Harris and Kamala Harris is a bad news. She was a prosecutor in California. If you guys don't believe me, just Google it and find out over there what she did over there. You know what I mean? So please stay away from them. Bad news for America. This country is great, and we can make it great again.
Yeah.
Okay? Because our customers are very price sensitive. If you didn't understand that, I can tell you that we will lose our customers if that were to be the case.
Yeah.
But if you like, you can come down and we can discuss further.
There you go, family. Not making this stuff up. Not making this stuff up. And then he says, she is right. Lower quality, look what. Oh, yeah, I see that already. But I'm curious to get you guys' thoughts, insight, and perspective, man. I mean, you guys have seen it. You guys, that was the last segment of the show in regards of seeing grocery price individuals outrage. Let me pause this. I didn't mean to start that.
There is.
But how you guys feel about it, man? Do you feel like Kamala Harris policy is effective? Do you feel like it's trash? I'm curious to get you guys' perspective. I feel as though it's trash. It's definitely not in the best interest of the American people. And in turn, the American people will suffer, man. And you guys evidently seen it within the show tonight, between me showing this young lady give us the value in regards of basic economics that should have been learned, especially for someone that's going to be negotiating from a business perspective in the best interest of the American people, negotiating with leaders or other world leaders like Vladimir Putin and stuff like that. And on top of it, you guys seen from Robert Sterling the document that I went, or the post that I went over in X, formerly known as Twitter, on how he broke down the long-term effects from his experience of working or had worked in the merger and acquisition in the food industry. And then you just seen grocery store owners, small grocery store owners, outraged by this nonsense of a policy. So let me know how you guys feel, man. That concluded the show on my end. It's the second episode. I just really want to sit there and spread, the facts. And I do my due diligence to the best of my ability. I take my notes, and I like to sit up here and rock out with you guys and interact with the chat and have a conversation, man. So that's what we're here for. To spread the truth. Is always right from wrong. I am that type of person, and that's how I get down. Danny said, look at the cost of groceries, then the cost of trucking, the cost of hourly wages, his rent, taxes. I definitely agree, man. And then alcohol licensing, city, county, state, federal taxes, plus the rent. Tell me about it, man. And you have a politician who has no small business or no type of private business experience sitting here like she knows what she's talking about. That's in turn supposedly champion about, oh, I see the American people and they seem very, very hopeful. And they're sitting there interviewing each other, man. Tim Walz and Kamala Harris interviewing each other. They're running away from the crucial, important questions that need to be answered. 80 days within the election in November, and she finally came out with a policy. And it's trash. And she didn't even clarify. There was not much clarity in it. They said it what we all wanted to hear. Sound good until it take place. And Danny said he still needs the profit to pay the business for upgrade and maintenance, and he still needs the profit to pay him. Exactly. He got to live too. And any real business owner, not only making sure they cover the true cost of running a business, they also have to not only just pay their employees that come with that true cost, but at the end of the day, the last person to profit from anything is that business owner. And they got to live, So, man, it's mind-boggling. And, man, it just shows the ignorance. You know what I'm saying? So, it just shows the ignorance. I want to start a poll, though, because I'm curious. Do you feel like... Sorry, family.
Back and learn basic economics before they're even allowed to vote. Because what you don't understand is certain policies will ultimately negatively affect...
I want to know, do you feel like Kamala policy is good? Just put a poll in there. I say no. It's trash. Trash policy. Just saying things that sound good. Just for example, like I seen on Instagram going around circulating, a lot of people are just looking for a handout, man. And at the end of the day, and those pro-Democrat individuals, especially me being, and raised in a black family, I was always told, until I started thinking for myself, that, oh, Democrats help the black people. When in reality, they're giving us what we want to hear and giving us what we want. But in turn, we suffer. And no one wants to stand up and really question these individuals. I think it's important. First of all, if you want to be even more technical, it goes down and it trickles down not only just to the president, because the president is not as important as your local legislators, right? State and local individuals within your community that you elect, they're important as well. And a lot of times people just want to hear what they want to hear and they want what they want, but then don't realize the long-term effect of it until it's done. And we have to ask them, what is the motive behind this? What is the motive? At the end of the day, how will this in turn help the country go in the right direction? Gas is high, man. Can you imagine that the goods that's being transported for that business? Can you imagine that trucking company, how much gas they gotta pay for? Bro, let's talk about it. Then he said if she gets in, it's going to go bad for small businesses across this country. Small businesses they're going to basically disintegrate, man. They're going to fall. They definitely are going to fall. And not only fall, they won't exist. Middle class, hardworking individuals who work hard for a family-owned business and thought of living the American dream, gone. Literally gone. And it's a shame because America is known for being so powerful by being able to monetize things and compete. And, you know, the land of the free, the land of opportunity, right? And if she gets in office, and I'm telling you, if you let her in office with this policy that she's not really diving into, just giving you surface level what you want to hear, we are going to suffer. And that's the honest truth. And that's the fact. We got to vote and let our voice be heard. And we may not agree, because I don't agree with everything Trump does. I don't agree with everything Kamala does. But at the end of the day, these policies that they're showing to us, we have to vote based on the individual that lobbies the best policy for the best interest of us, the American people. And that's the point, and that's my stance. You know, she's basically going off of diverse equity and conclusion, but she doesn't have no credibility. I don't even see her as a politician because she's definitely just known as a prosecutor. And look how that went. And then if you let Judge Joe Brown say or talk about it, apparently what I seen circulating on YouTube, she slept her way to the top. You know, allegedly. I don't know. But other than that, family, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I appreciate all who watched, all who viewed, all who interacted with me in the chat. You know, I love the chat. You know, I love getting different perspectives and insight. The same way I hope to pour into you guys and bring some type of value. And some individual voted yes. And I'm curious to see why they voted yes. I want to know their take on that. I'm curious to see your perspective. You know, it's always good to get different insights. But I don't agree, man. I don't agree. I don't agree that Kamala's going to do anything great. And she says she's going to do these things within the first 100 days. But what is she doing now? You know what I'm saying? These are all the questions that, if you really think about it, you know, we could talk about. You know what I'm saying? Voice your opinion, man. Let it be heard. That's what we hear. Danny is right. There's other people here. If you're walking and disagree with me or push, yeah, I agree. And I'm actually pin that message I'm going to pin that because we're here to have a conversation, you know, and that's what it's about. But it's a 50-50 right now. The poll is 50-50. I'm curious to see what makes you feel like Kamala Harris is a strong candidate, because I don't see it. She's not. If you think diverse equity and conclusion, that's discrimination within itself. This is how you create a black market. When at the end of the day, you eat what you kill and you compete, right? You don't sit here and make it a diverse equity inclusion thing, because then someone can acquire a job or acquire a business, or, for example, the hypocrites or the Democrats, whatever you want to call them, they're hypocrites to me. Hypocrites, I should say. But if you think diverse equity inclusion is something that's going to be very effective in regards of getting that job or having a position of power and something like this that Kamala's running for, and she's running off of diverse equity and inclusion, it was something that wasn't earned. It was just based off diverse equity and inclusion. Am I right or am I wrong? You're going to agree or disagree. You know what I'm saying? So that's my stance on that as well, if you really think about it and take a deep dive. That's about it, man. And I don't see nobody else in the chat saying anything. Nobody want no smoke. Nobody trying to. Oh, I see 67. No, 60. Oh, man. So we got 33% say yes, and we got 67% say no. I think the poll speaks for itself, right? Kamala Harris' policy is trash. And apparently, what I seen, because I do have, different resources where I do my due diligence, to, like I said, to seek research before I get up here. Professor Nez, who I watch as well, I'm a YouTuber, shout out to him. Apparently, I haven't seen the video, but I did see him post it in regards of Kamala Harris being somewhat of an alcoholic. But I'm saying it's not really the importance here that I'm really honing in on. I'm really honing in on policy, and that's what it really matters. And we should vote based on the policy that we believe is the best interest and lobby for, right? And I love these conversations. I love debating. I hope I pour some type of value into you guys. That's really important here. I like to add context and value to it. And yeah, man. So it's just mind-boggling to me that look at California, for example. Look how they raised their minimum wage to $20 an hour required. And look at that. Look at it. California's trash, man. You got illegals everywhere. Look at Domino's, for example, in California, I heard about. Their delivery drivers got rid of them. They couldn't afford to pay them as employees. They couldn't afford it. They had to get rid of them because of the $20 an hour minimum wage requirement. Trump landslide. Hey, man. I agree with you. Shout out to Tom Flory, man. Welcome to the chat. Welcome, family. Welcome. 25% say yes, 75% say no. I think it's self-explanatory, right? So I thank you guys for rocking with me. I appreciate you guys for showing your support. Definitely joining it and interact. Those who interacted in the chat in this little late night show. I hope to do more segments and more shows that I try to put together and take my notes and give my insight, thoughts, and perspective as a young man. And I try to communicate effectively without stumbling as much, to pour in value into you guys, but also have a conversation. So I hope you guys got some value from me. I hope, most importantly, and I hope you guys enjoyed the show, right? And since no one else wants to say nothing in the chat, I just want to say, like I said, thanks for those who came. Thanks for those who rock with me. I hope I did a great job, in regards of, communicating effectively and giving insight, right? But stay tuned for more. I'm hoping to do this more consistently. And with no further ado, family, if no one else got nothing to say, hope you guys have a good night. Spread that peace, love, and positivity. Give this video a big thumbs up. I still see the poll. I'm watching the poll as I'm talking, because nobody else wants to say anything. It's 20% saying yes, it's 80% saying no. And like I said, look, man, I'm rocking with Trump. Man. I'm rocking with Trump. But no further ado, family. Peace out. And that's it, right? So give this video a big thumbs up. Spread it. Share it to your family, your grandma, your grandpa, your mom, father, sister, dad, brother. You know what I'm saying? So peace out, family.